Coming up right now, wait until you hear which pantry staple kids are sniffing as a way to get high.
Also coming up, a woman moved from Florida to Virginia for a new job and worked for a week before they told her she was never hired. It's a story you gotta
A
hear.
little bit later on, Mike Tyson is selling edibles shaped like a chewed ear. And now you can actually get them in New York State.
Daily Flash starts right now.
Get ready for trending news and entertainment. This is Daily Flash with your hosts, Andrea Jackson and Mitch English. The fun starts right now. This is Daily Flash.
Hi everyone, I'm Andrea Jackson.
I am Mitch English, welcoming you to Daily Flash. We have a whole hour set up and ready to go for you. We produce. We're so glad to have you here as we kick off the week. Matt Doolittle, we'll check in with him a little bit later. And well, let's just do it right now. Matt, your weekend okay?
Very tired.
Tired.
A lot of wrestling. WrestleMania was going on.
Yes, you know. If it's wrestling.
The other thing is we had friends and family over with their kids and stuff, and they have a trampoline. Well, old Uncle Do, who doesn't have kids, is the instant target, so I go out on the trampoline. Not realizing I'm 39, and I can't jump around like 5-year-olds, and I am sore.
Yeah, isn't it weird? Like I remember playing the Wii game the first time, and the next day it was like bowling. It was like real stuff. I was like, man,
Are you serious?
sore, man.
I got a giant Band-Aid on my elbow. My neck's hurting.
Imagine with a trampoline, you feel 10 times worse.
Aches and pains.
It's part of growing up.
And when you get off the trampoline, isn't it weird? It's sort of like that moment you hit the ground.
Oh, yeah.
It's a strange
feel
feeling.
weird.
You remember how when you were a kid, you hopped from the trampoline just to the ground and like Superman
Didn't even
landed?
think about it.
No, it's me like going up, don't break ankle, don't break ankle, don't break ankle, don't break ankle.
You gingerly crawled off of it on all fours. Well, we've talked about wedding registries on this show before. The new trend right now is a divorce registry.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a website called Fresh Starts, and what they do is anybody who is looking for a fresh start can register with them in order to get everything that they need, which actually to me makes sense, because if you split up, you know,
I see.
oftentimes
Okay,
you don't. You might be leaving, and you won't have the silverware. You won't have the
toaster,
the plates or the toaster.
Or the microwave. Or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it makes sense. You know, you're almost like, hey, I'm helping you start over and that sort of thing. And so it would be an individual of like, I just want to help you out in some manner. This can make it easier. I kind of like the idea.
Some people on Reddit are saying, look, Amazon's done this for years.
Yeah.
You can sign up for any kind of registry on Amazon, including a divorce registry.
Well, and now they're capitalizing.
Some would argue you might need more help with a divorce than you would with an actual wedding.
I would agree with that. They say that it should be very cheap, very expensive to get married and very cheap to get divorced, because it's the other way around. Trust me. Especially if kids are involved.
Yeah, I know lots of people say, look, you've got to have a license to do all of these things. You should also have a license to get divorced, you know, when it comes to it, because it makes it an extra hoop you have to jump through.
That's one registry I do not want to be on.
No.
About that for the divorce thing. Let's jump into some trending news. A mom whipped up a frenzy on social media after warning parents that their teens have found a peculiar new way to get high. Take a look.
I was searching bags this morning, and a couple students had nutmeg in their bags, and they said it was for your class. And the teacher goes, yeah, no, we're not using anything, so I don't know what they're talking about. Well, the resource officer overheard them, and he was like, they had nutmeg in their bag? And she said, yeah. And he was like, you remember which students? She was like, yeah. So she goes and looks up the students. The resource officer goes in the classroom, looks in their backpacks, and finds little jars of nutmeg. They're all suspended. You know why they're all suspended? Because these flippin' teenagers have figured out that you can use nutmeg to get high.
What? You can? I'm learning something today. I never knew that. I never knew about nutmeg. No.
Can make you really sick, and it causes you to hallucinate. That's the deal.
And
if you take it,
it seems like it make me sneeze. I mean, you're talking about how are they ingesting it? Like sniffing it, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad that you'd want to get that cheap high. I mean, I remember our school, it was the whipped cream.
Yeah.
You know, because it was supposed to have laughing gas. And it would last like 2 seconds in the first place. I heard.
You heard,
that,
yeah.
that's the case. It's sad they're doing that. Keep the kids away from the nutmeg, I guess.
You gotta
Let's
lock up
start
your spice
locking
rack.
that up like they do like Benadryl in some places, or they got a lot. You got to go ask the guy at Walgreens for it.
I don't
Well, I'm glad I never knew about it, but now I'm glad I do know about it. That because I'm certain as a kid I would probably have tried it.
Did you have this dumb trend in school where people made cinnamon sticks?
Why? I was just talking to Liza about
Yes.
this. Yes, and they would sell them like 10 cents each.
Cinnamon toothpicks,
Uh-huh.
like soaked in cinnamon oil.
It was like
that was
super hot.
super spicy.
And the kid would come in that would sell it. He was like an entrepreneur, and he had like this aluminum foil thing. It was all wrapped up. Man, you want a toothpick? I'm like, how much? Like it's a dime or whatever. And yeah, it's a toothpick.
I don't know.
I remember that in school.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
funny.
A woman said she moved from Florida to Virginia for her new job and worked there for 7 days before finding out she was never hired. The 24-year-old applied for a job as a cheerleading coach at a college in Virginia. Well, the new job took a turn when her boss asked her to check if Human Resources had received her personal details. HR said they'd received her job application, but it was currently under review by the department. By then, she had already put in a week worth of work. Someone from HR called her saying that the company had decided to move forward with other applicants. So a call from HR confirmed she had never officially been hired. She was eventually reimbursed $1,600 for her move and her expenses and the 7 days of work. She has since moved in with her parents and said there are no hard feelings.
It's good to see that the company's
Yeah.
actually paying up. That's actually says a lot about the company first off, but it's sad that it happened because you imagine just the excitement that you had, and if she quit a job, that would be even worse, right?
We talk about Gen Zers not showing
Yeah.
up for jobs. This girl shows up for a job she's only applied for. You gotta, applaud her conviction and her enthusiasm.
It reminds me of George Costanza on Seinfeld. For some reason, when I heard sort of the story, he quit, and then the next on the Monday he just showed up and he just acted like that. And that actually was a true story that Larry David actually did on Saturday Night Live. That's where that story came from. He quit
Really?
after Saturday, and then he showed up Monday acting like nothing was going on.
It's like just go in and act like nothing happened. He goes, I showed up.
I'm here, and then he kept his
the
job.
job.
Yeah.
Don Ohlmeyer was on the sauce back then too, so I don't know.
True.
Allegedly.
All right, New York weed shops are stocking their shelves with Mike Tyson branded edibles, and guess what? They're shaped like an ear with a bite mark.
Aha.
It's a callback to Iron Mike's heavyweight showdown with Evander Holyfield. I wonder how Evander feels about this.
Yeah,
That's the
right?
thing. 57-year-old Brooklyn native planning a comeback fight against Jake Paul. That's happening in July. He's rolling out his Tyson 2.0 brand, Mike Bites, and he's planning on a promotional blitz next month, including an event at Times Square. The former champ famously chewed Holyfield's ear during a title fight on July 28, 1997. That was a move that got him disqualified. They're friends now, and they joke about it too, which is interesting. And that whole world of boxing, a lot of times that's the case.
Yeah.
They're like, they have to just had this hate, in the ring, but then outside of it, they don't.
I think that's the kind of sports in general. Like you look at Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. They
Oh, yeah.
were rivals,
Yeah.
from college to pro days. But then, they became really good friends once, they both left the sport. And when Magic was diagnosed with AIDS, Larry Bird was one of the first guys to call him and say, hey, if you need anything, I'm here for you. So, I mean, it's interesting when you see how these relationships develop either on the court or in the ring or on the field. And oftentimes they're clashing.
Yeah.
But then once it's all over, they're best of friends.
You have to give it back to Mike Tyson that a lot of people, he had bought, I think it was either New Mexico or Arizona, he bought all this land to
Really?
grow the cannabis because it was legal there. Well, this was like when it was first coming out. And then, he's obviously making a lot of money with this business. And more states, including Florida, just announced that they're going to be able to put it on the ballot for recreational marijuana. If you don't follow it, it's fine. I still think Holyfield say, "Hey, man, that's my ear. That's copyright
deserve a
infringement.
cut."
I need a cut of that."
Well, wildlife rescuers in Virginia shared a video of a worker wearing a mask resembling a fox while feeding an orphan kit.
Okay.
In the video, you can see the person wearing the mask and rubber gloves while handling the baby fox known as a kit. The purpose of dressing like a fox is to make sure that the orphan doesn't imprint on the human. Animals that are raised in captivity can easily connect to humans, and lose their natural instincts. So in an effort to prevent any kind of attachment, experts say it helps to minimize human sounds, create visual barriers, reduce handling, and wear masks related to the animal.
I just hope that thing never winds up at Disney World or something. He's going, Mommy, Mommy, walking around with all the big characters. Mommy, you my mommy?
They do that with pandas, don't they? You see them like the
I
people,
believe so,
the panda
yeah.
handlers will dress up, and especially when they're cubs, they'll go out and do that. So they kind of feel like they know what the species
I
looks
guess
like.
it makes sense, yeah, because they're, if you get attached to the human, then the mom or the other animals will reject you altogether. So it makes sense. It's got to be a weird feeling like, well, I got to dress up like a fox today. I went to 5 years of school for
At
this.
least you're doing that for work. You're not like that other story we had where the guy dressed
Yes.
up like a dog for the fun of it.
Because he identifies as a
does.
dog.
He identifies as a
Yeah.
dog.
Well, there's something for everyone, right?
Agreed, and that's why we call it Daily Flash. We got something for everybody coming up this second half hour. Don't go anywhere. We have got all kinds of good stuff. You're watching Daily Flash. Welcome back to Daily Flash. Fabian Marcano from Daily Flash Latino joins us now for our relationship refresh.
Hi guys, pleasure to be here. Guys, I have a real big question.
Okay.
How would you feel if your partner was doing OnlyFans? But here's the catch. They're making 6 figures.
Okay, now, and I know about it, or I found out about it.
Let's say you found out about it.
Oh.
Let's say you found out about it. Here's an example, right? There's an aerospace engineer that was making 6 figures already with his career. But on the side, on a lunch break, he was doing his OnlyFans gig. And on the part-time gig, I guess with the time he had, it was adding up to a lot of money, and he got fired right at that lunch break when he came back from work. So, I mean, it also continues into, I guess, the workplace. Is it a financial decision? Is it cool if it's a financial decision? Right?
I think I would hope, number one, that any kind of relationship, if you're a couple or whatever, you would know that, hey, you're doing this OnlyFans thing. Because then I'd be like, what else are you doing that I don't know about? And that sort of thing. And there had to be some kind of conversation prior to that for them to do that. And third, there has to be somebody behind the camera.
Well, not necessarily.
There could be some, you could maybe put the phone somewhere, I guess.
Maybe there's a selfie stick or
Right.
a ring light and a remote.
The catch is they are making loads of money in this process. So, I mean, I guess would the financial part of it, I guess, make it easier for you?
It seems like it has been for a number of people who've been caught up in these OnlyFans controversies where, look, the guy should not be doing it on his lunch break. I'm sorry, but you're at work. If you want to do it after work, then, that's kind of
keep
your
your
thing.
part-time gigs to the part-time, right?
Exactly. But I think, a lot of these people, once they start making this kind of money, they think, oh gosh, this is great. It's a cash cow, right?
Yeah.
But it's also a trust factor, like not just with your business and your employer. If you're doing that on your lunch break, how can they trust you to actually complete your tasks?
Wow.
And the girlfriend or the boyfriend of whoever's doing it, same thing. It's a trust factor, especially if they don't know about it.
Yeah.
Sounds like priorities. If I was an employer, I would say, well, what is your priority right
Yes.
now? Apparently, the argument could be, well, it's my lunch break. I can do whatever I want. But also, too, you're also representing my company. So what is your priority,
Yes.
right?
Exactly.
It actually makes me think a little bit about it because I feel like the companies might actually take more of a precaution with you doing OnlyFans than a person that's just regularly, just working for their career.
I agree.
Another story I have is actually, it kind of correlates. How would you feel about a partner having a close relationship or a friendship with someone of the opposite gender and they hang out one-on-one?
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
this is a
I've
thing.
been through this. It's not good.
It's not good.
And when I was younger, it drove me nuts.
Yeah, I feel like I'm pretty young, right? And I feel kind of jealous about that stuff.
yeah.
It gets me riled up. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know how you guys feel.
I think having more relationships and maturing through those relationships, you sort of like, I don't really care.
You get to that point. I think if you were going to that other person of the opposite sex and you're giving very intimate details or issues, you shouldn't be doing that with the person that you're supposed to be with. On the same token, you kind of wonder, well, if I can't go to that person because that's the person I'm having an issue with, and if you are directing all of it to your friend or whatever, obviously something's missing out. So there needs to be some kind of communication there between the couple.
I actually like the way you put that, Mitch, because that makes me think possibly wouldn't that other person actually know a little bit more about your relationship?
Yes, which
You know,
is
at times they could maybe have some more secrets that you might not
that's
even
a
have
good
heard
point.
of.
Yeah.
And you can paint the picture to that other person as much as you want, because you're like, well, I really don't have much committed to you other than just friendship.
Exactly.
Who I am. So
You
I
look
can
like
see
the
that.
great guy, you know. I'm like, I'm always doing everything right, and she's always making me mad, you know. Like she's always, I get problems with her all the time, and then imagine the person, I guess, explains those problems to that one person that they have a friendship with, who I guess, quote unquote, is hanging out one-on-one is cool, you know. Like,
I think the key to is opposite sex. If I know that my boyfriend has a best girlfriend, I know they're discussing our relationship, and that I would have a problem with. However, if he's hanging out with his guy friend and they're discussing it, I guess I don't know. I would take a different
you know,
approach.
yeah, that's true.
Right?
I mean,
I don't know if
never
I'd
really thought
feel
about that.
as threatened.
You know, what about, I would imagine the relationships, generally, if you're finding somebody really close while you're already with somebody, it's like, wait a minute, why are you even looking out? But if you inherited, the relationship inherited those friends, that makes it a little bit more difficult, I bet.
this also brings me to our last topic of the day. Is it essential for couples to have similar life goals in order to succeed in a relationship nowadays?
Ooh, that's a good
You have to. I mean, in my
question.
opinion, I think you should have somewhat of a similar way of going at it. I think, but I've seen it work every way.
Well, I'm going through this now. So we talk about retirement, and we're like, do you want to get a small little van and just travel the world, or do you want to move maybe closer to your kids and that sort of thing? Now, if me, I want to travel the world once I retire, and Liza's not really 100% on board. She says, I've already seen the world. There's really not a whole much I really don't want to see
She
after
likes
that.
to be at home.
So we have to figure something
Yeah.
out. So in that aspect, no, we're not. But there has to be a compromise where, okay, we'll stay here in this house, but we'll also travel maybe every other month or something like that.
I think that if you've got work goals, if one person's not motivated and they're at home and they're not doing anything, they're trying to find a career, and you've got somebody else who's a total go-getter, I think eventually that wears on a relationship.
That's where I was getting at, Andrea.
Yeah.
I feel like when you are complete opposites, it
Yeah.
makes it actually a big difference in that relationship. I feel like it could, take a drastic turn.
What I've always felt like is that when you go into a relationship, it's what they teach in the Boy Scouts is you go to a campground. When you leave the campground, it's got to be better than it was before. All right? That's about. So if you go into a relationship, you should be working and working and making each other better by all means. But with that is sacrifice and compromise.
But don't you find you're a different person in a relationship today than you were 10 years ago?
Jackson knows. I would hope that I am, and I've grown up a lot.
But I think that's part
Yes.
of what's great about relationships is you should be learning something from each one and
Absolutely.
changing with it as you go.
And I love the Boy Scout reference. I think we should all be great Boy Scouts out there. That's amazing.
Your campgrounds, they got to look better than when you found them, all right?
Fabian, thank you.
Thank you
Great
guys. Thank you
stuff.
guys.
You, of course, can check out Fabian on Daily Flash Latino. Go to dailyflashlatino.com for more details and airtimes.
In this week's Boss Lady, we turn our attention to the women of NASA. Artemis, the twin sister of Apollo and goddess of the moon, is not only their latest mission to the moon program, it's also the perfect symbol for a new crew of women on the next great space mission.
When I was a little girl, I wanted to be an astronaut.
A scientist,
a doctor,
a fighter pilot.
When I was a little girl, I wanted to grow up to be strong and independent.
When we were asked to draw a picture of what we wanted to be when we grew up, I drew an astronaut standing on the surface of the moon.
All I thought about was when I was going to get to NASA.
It's a huge honor to be NASA's first female launch director. To be the launch director for Artemis. NASA has so many wonderful women pioneers, so many heroes to me.
Some of the most amazing women in my eyes are people like Katherine Johnson and the other women that you've seen in Hidden Figures.
Sometimes it's difficult to believe that I'm on this side now, wearing this blue flight suit with all of the other astronauts, representing this iconic image that had so inspired and excited me my entire life.
Being of South Asian heritage, Kaplan was just such a big thing for me growing up.
I've always looked up to Sally Ride and Mae Jemison, who really laid the foundation to allow people like me to be in the position that I am now.
All of these women were pushing those boundaries and breaking those glass ceilings.
Now, of course, there are some fantastic women in leadership positions that inspire me every day.
So much has changed since the Apollo program. During the Apollo 11 launch, we had one woman, one out of 400 engineers in the room. And I look at our team today, it's much more a reflection of the world that we live in.
A big piece of why it's so important to have women and diverse backgrounds, because it allows us to bring everybody along with us on this journey.
It doesn't really matter what you look like. If you've got the brains and you have the knowledge, we need you at the table.
We are at such an exciting time in human spaceflight right now, and Artemis is such a huge part of that.
We haven't been to the moon in many, many years. We have a lot of younger generation folks that have never seen that happen.
We will understand so much more about the moon, about the Earth, about our solar system.
We're going to stay. And to me, that's an amazing idea. The moon is going to be the blueprint for how we go to Mars and out into the solar system and maybe beyond.
It is incredibly exciting to be part of this Artemis team. It still feels pretty surreal to think that I might one day walk on the moon.
To see a woman and a person of color on the surface of the moon, to be able to say that space is for everyone and that we go to space to make life better here on Earth for everyone. I know that tears will be in my eyes.
My message to women and girls out there is to find your passion, whatever that is.
Don't let anyone tell you what you can do or can't do. Only you can realize your dreams.
Space is for everyone. And if me being in this role helps to send that message, I think that's a great thing.
And I just actually love that I don't feel like a woman at NASA. I just feel like a person at NASA.
The women of NASA are Artemis, and we make a difference every day.
I am NASA's Spacewalk Office Hardware Manager.
I'm the Program Scientist for Space Biology.
I'm the Director of NASA's Johnson Space Center.
I am Artemis.
I am Artemis.
私はアルテミスです。Yo soy Artemis.
As somos Artemis.
Ana.
Je suis.
Ich bin
I
Artemis.
am Artemis.
I am Artemis.
Expect to see the first woman walk the surface of the moon thanks to the Artemis mission. And did you know Pearl Young was the first woman hired as a physicist? Back in 1922, she worked for the National Advisory Committee of Aeronautics, which would later become NASA. And today there are many women in leadership at NASA. As you just met Charlie Blackwell Thompson. She's the launch director.
Love that. You know, there are 60 years from when we took flight in an airplane to get up to the moon. But think about, like, why is it like, where haven't we had a launch director that was a woman by now? You know, the time-wise that has happened since 1969 and that sort of thing. And, you know, how, and now all these great movies are coming out about how women played a huge part that were basically in the crux of the history, so that you never hear about.
Hidden Figures was such an incredible movie, and you know, showing you the history and of course the dynamics of the time too, with race relations really kind of changing. And you know, if there's truth to that movie and the Kevin Costner character, I think he did a lot to change things.
If we have that, you know, and again, it's all about unity, and this is an organization that has to work together no matter what, and you know, just seeing beyond race, color, as well as maybe even gender, we can do so many great things. So it's great to see stuff like this.
It still boggles my mind that we can actually see pictures from space. We can get, you know, video transmissions. I am still blown away by that ability to do that from another planet or the moon.
I did an interview one time with an astronaut on International Space Station, and it's still like that same feeling you have. It was like, wow, I talked to somebody in outer space. It's really, really cool.
All right, much more to come here on Daily Flash. Stay with us. To the moon!
To the moon, Alice!
This is Daily Flash with your hosts, Andrea Jackson and Mitch English. Trending news and entertainment. This is Daily Flash.
Hi, everyone. I'm Andrea Jackson.
I'm Mitch English, welcoming you to Daily Flash. We're so glad to have you here as you kick off the week. So very, very happy here. And today, if you want an email read, do not send it out today. There's some experts out that say the best time to send an email. You guys want to take a guess when the best time to send an email will be to get a response?
2 o'clock on a Tuesday.
2 o'clock on Tuesday. Maddie, what do you say?
6 a.m. on a Wednesday.
6 a.m. on a Wednesday. Jackson's a little bit closer. On Tuesday is the best day to send an email at 9:15. I think a lot of people realize why. Monday, you have a backlog of weekend emails that you're going through. If you sent it on Monday, you're going to be part of that. But they say at 9:15 on Tuesday, all of those were gone from Monday. And then about 15 minutes in, you sit down, you're getting ready. Yours will probably be closer to the top. So keep that in mind. If there's something that maybe can hold off and you wanted the best response, that's the day.
Plus,
Tuesday, 9:15.
I think more people are focused on a Tuesday because Monday you're usually putting out a lot of fires, so you're
that's a good point, too.
distracted. So if you have something really important, they always say a Tuesday in the morning for, like you mentioned, email, or Tuesday afternoon if you really need to sit down and talk to somebody about something.
Like it. And hungover.
And some people are
Yeah.
hungover. This is true, Matt. So you may be a little fuzzy on a Monday. Well, a mom whipped up a frenzy on social media after warning parents that their teens have found a peculiar new way to get high. Take a look.
I was searching bags this morning, and a couple students had nutmeg in their bags, and they said it was for your class. And the teacher goes, yeah, no, we're not using anything, so I don't know what they're talking about. Well, the resource officer overheard them, and he was like, they had nutmeg in their bag? And she said, yeah. And he was like, you remember which students? She was like, yeah. So she goes and looks up the students. The resource officer goes in the classroom, looks in their backpacks, and finds little jars of nutmeg. They're all suspended. You know why they're all suspended? Because these flippin' teenagers have figured out that you can use nutmeg to get high.
Leave your spices at home, kids. No need to bring them there, not even to cooking class here. Which goes to show you, kids are going to look for anything to get experiment on sort of things.
Yeah.
But it also, they're going to try it, but just keep your eye out.
Word has it that
That's
nutmeg can make you hallucinate. Now, I don't know that from any sort of experience. I just heard that.
They make you nutmeg is what it is. I
guess so.
All right, a woman said that she moved from Florida to Virginia for her new job. She worked there for 7 days, and then she found out, she was never hired. The 24-year-old applied for a job as a cheerleading coach at a college in Virginia. The new job took a turn when her boss asked her if she could check with HR and if she'd received her personal details. Well, HR said they never received her job application, but it was currently under review by that department. By then, she had already put in a week. Someone from HR called her saying that the company had decided to move forward with other applicants. A call from HR confirmed that she had never officially been hired. Good news is she was reimbursed $1,600 for the move, her expenses, as well as 7 days' work. So they're all cheering her on. Get that? She has also since moved in with her parents. She also says no hard feelings altogether. So she's had a good learning experience. Wait till you get the offer and you've signed something, I guess, is the best thing. If you haven't signed anything, it seems like maybe there might be an issue there. Also, I also know most jobs, when you go in, you got to show them, your social security card or fill out a bunch of applications. And if it's been a week and you haven't done that, it'd be like, am I going to get paid for this?
And if it's on a college campus, you probably have a badge you've got to get for access.
It makes sense.
I like how
all
she's
the signs were there.
telling you all about this while she's putting makeup on. It's one of those get ready with
That's
me
what
videos.
you do, I guess so.
Wouldn't though they want to be like, well, look at the dedication she put in here. Let's give her the job anyway.
No, I'm with you, Matt, because she's showing some sort of, enthusiasm for it. She's there. She's a go-getter.
That takes it. That doesn't pay attention to the fact that she never signed
That's true.
it.
You know what? That may be a flaw in the application.
That is true. There could be an element of denial.
Because it's always, I pay attention to details. And if you see my desktop, it's just a mess. So I definitely don't.
So keep that in mind. Just make sure. A lot of times you might be like, I'm really hired. Are you sure I'm hired, right? I am hired. You like me? Maybe that's what you need to say in order to be able to confirm
Yeah,
it,
maybe
but I
they
don't
were
see this
concerned
happening.
there was a breakdown in communication, and that's why she wasn't the best
That could be the issue.
Yeah.
All right, we have more Flash around the corner. Don't go anywhere. We love having you along.
Welcome back to Daily Flash. Here's Fabian Marcano with this week's The Beat.
The music industry is known to be an incredible entertainment business, but sometimes you have to shed some light to the dark side of the industry. Recently, artist managers and entertainment attorneys say it's become increasingly common for artists to put out albums first just to figure out all the clearances and payments later. Here's an example. While Travis Scott performed 3 songs at the Grammys earlier this month, his team of producers and songwriters who helped make his hit album Utopia weren't even paid yet. Utopia came out more than 6 months ago and went on to become one of the biggest releases of the year. According to 4 sources close to the project, once it released, at least four of the producers and writers involved in the album still didn't have producer agreements or publishing splits finalized, meaning they cannot get fully compensated for their work. Although artists are often enjoy revenue streams outside of the recorded music, the same is not true for most songwriters and producers. Writers are usually financially dependent on publishing royalties from the songs they work on, and producers typically depend on a mix of master royalties, which is often just in advance unless an album recoups its budget, which is very, very rare. Plus, publishing royalties are only paid if they contributed to songwriting. This means the most famous writers and producers are already in a financial situation. On top of that, massively successful artists are often slow to finalize those deals that dictate what percentage royalties writers and producers are owed. Once an album is released, artists often hit the road, meaning their attention and their team's attention is focused elsewhere. And as the months go by, the collaborators' frustrations grow. So the only other option is to try to take down the track or sue the artist who put it out without a signed produced agreement in place. But of course, writers and producers hardly ever take this route, and they try to stay in good graces of the artist since lawsuits are costly and they're also time consuming, which leads me to ask, when will there be a change? Wouldn't you want the people that help make your hit songs to be happy too? In other news, I'll tell you who didn't seem so bothered after a little stage mishap. I'm talking about Madonna, baby. The queen of pop kept the song and the show going seamlessly and laughs off her onstage fall after one of the dancers trips and drops her. Now remember, you're not laughing at Madonna, you're laughing with Madonna. In multiple videos shared online, Madonna is seen performing her 1987 hit Open Your Heart during her second night of the Celebration tour in the Emerald City when her show hit a little bump. The 7-time Grammy winner was sitting on a chair and singing to a camera while a male dancer in stiletto heels begins to tilt her seat back and pulls her along the stage while running. I don't even understand. He suddenly slips and falls, taking Madonna down with him. Now the superstar continues rolling on, and she's still singing on the floor before hitting a smile and laughing it off. Nothing can really stop Madonna, not even the hospital, especially when an infection almost ruined the tour for her and her fans back when it announced in January of 2023. She managed to handle that like a pro also and started her sold-out shows in London and is set to finish in late April in Mexico City. For those of you still wondering, by the way, yes, the Taylor Swift effect is real. Just ask Jason Kelce. While appearing on Shaquille O'Neal's podcast, the Philadelphia Eagles center opened up about the extreme pros and cons of the new level of fame he and his family reached after Travis Kelce began dating Taylor Swift last year. Jason has become a beloved icon in the Swiftie universe in the months since the singer went public with her relationship in September. A very cool pro about the relationship is how their families have had the chance to spend time together, even at the Super Bowl or at the after party, celebrating another championship, but this time with a 14-time Grammy winner. Another pro is Jason Kelce gets introduced by Taylor Swift to incredibly famous people like the legend Paul McCartney or Ice Spice. However, there are some downfalls, and I mean, that means Travis Kelce's house gets bombarded by fans. That's pretty crazy. This is The Beat. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure you tune in on dailyflashlatino.com for more information.
KSA Entertainment is proud to produce and provide a robust collection of entertaining, uplifting, and timely content to broadcast, cable, and streaming platforms in the U.S., Canada, and Puerto Rico. KSA Entertainment. On point, on air.
It looks like Make-A-Wish is announcing a big goal to recruit 1 million people to become wish makers. And we're pleased to be joined by Leslie Motter, President and CEO of Make-A-Wish America, with more.
A wish maker is anyone that is involved in helping us grant wishes to children. It's everyday people across the country, individual donors, volunteers, nurses, doctors, celebrity superstars, our corporate partners. So many are involved in granting wishes, and it really does take a village to grant a wish. It is World Wish Month, and we are so excited to launch our Wishmakers Wanted campaign with a very ambitious goal to bring more than 1 million wishmakers into our fold. We're encouraging everyone to go to wishmaker.org to understand how they can become involved. You'll get to hear from some amazing Wish kids and understand exactly what you could do to be a part of this movement. Wishmaker.org. We encourage everyone to go to wishmaker.org to understand how they can be part of granting life-changing wishes to children that are waiting. Wishmaker.org.
With cyber attacks on the rise, protecting consumers' personal and financial data is more important than ever. Here's Jim Nussel with America's Credit Unions with more details.
Almost 6 out of 10 Americans say they have experienced credit card fraud, and it all adds up. It's now a $14 billion problem annually, and that's doubled just in the last 10 years. So this is real money, real people, and a real problem that we have got to get after. Credit union, when they issue that credit card to you, they're providing you a service. They want it to be convenient. They want you to be able to go out and use that card. And it's a very convenient, safe, and protected system. Constantly review the websites where you're putting that kind of card information. And then the other one that I know is a hassle, it's a hassle for me. I hate changing my passwords, but I got to tell you, it is the best human firewall kind of thing you can do to protect your data. Yeah, if you want more information, protectinterchange.com is what I would recommend about how you can protect interchange, how you can protect yourself, and learn a little bit more about the interchange in the credit card system.
There's a new way to save money when it comes to future finances for women. Here's more.
Women's financial attitudes and behaviors change throughout life.
Income increases encourage single women to become more involved in their finances. Married women cite becoming more involved gradually over time. Divorce or death of a spouse are factors in becoming more proactive with finances. Women who work with a financial professional, regardless of relationship status, report improvements in their financial well-being.
Visit equitable.com to find resources and learn more.
April is Financial Literacy Month, and new programs give students and schools personal finance education resources to build a strong financial foundation. Joining us now with more information is Dave Zada, Vice President Corporate Responsibility for Intuit, and Michael Bonner, high school teacher, guest educator, speaker, and author.
Thanks for having us. You know, Intuit has learned quite a bit about this problem of kids not graduating financially literate. You might actually be surprised to hear that adults in the United States generally have a poor level of financial literacy. And we've found through conversations that we've had with students and with teachers and with parents that this is at least partially driven by the fact that today only 25% of students are required to take a personal finance course before they graduate high school. So that means the vast majority of kids won't cross the graduation stage knowing how to budget or save or manage credit or even understand really the most basic financial terms and concepts just before they start making financial decisions that can impact them long term. So now we also learned where kids learn about managing money today. And what we heard from kids is that they're not really learning about this from their parents because, maybe either their parents don't feel comfortable for personal reasons talking to them about it, or because their parents assume that they're learning about it in school. And kids want that as well. In fact, in a recent survey conducted by Intuit, it showed that 85% of high school students want financial education while they're in school. Now, Michael, as an educator, what do you find is the greatest challenges facing children today in understanding finances and what we can do to help better prepare them?
Well, there's so many different challenges that students are facing, and we see it with the attention span, with the digital and social media and everything going on, but also with their thirst for wanting to learn more about money. We are not necessarily equipped in the education system with the right curriculum, and we don't have as much time. So that's why I'm excited Intuit for Education has developed a very simple plug and play concept where teachers can just give it to their students and the kids can take off and actually compete for some really, really, really cool prizes. And I'm going to throw it back to you so you can inform the people about those.
Yeah, well, thanks. So during Financial Literacy Month, which happens every April, we're challenging all schools to spend at least 1 hour teaching personal finance to all their students. And to help them do that, we created the Hour of Finance Challenge, which includes a lesson that any teacher regardless of the experience they have, can use with their students. And that lesson includes an activity on the basics of credit. And then students play the Intuit Prosperity Quest online game where they build skills in a fun way using real life scenarios. And then they receive a score based on how well that they do. And then schools use the average score from all their students to compete against other schools from around the country to win a celebration worth up to $100,000. And if there are teachers, school administrators, or parents who want to learn more, they can go to intuit.com/hour of finance to learn more or register for the free Intuit Hour of Finance Challenge or our free Intuit for Education personal finance program.
And now, important information for parents on conversations with your kids.
A new study from the Lego Group finds that girls feel intense pressure to be perfect and believe adults give boys different recognition for their creative work. Here's how parents can help.
Use playtime to ask open-ended questions, encouraging your child to open up their creative courage. Parents can also encourage a growth mindset. This means prioritizing progress over perfection, so children solve a problem that enables them to focus on overcoming challenges.
For more of these tips, head to lego.com.
Thanks, and we'll have all that info on our website at dailyflashshow.com.
Now entering its second season, Daily Flash Latino. Designed for the American Latino audience, Daily Flash Latino hosts Jessica Reyes and Fabian Marcano deliver their fresh perspective on the latest entertainment news, celebrity gossip, fashion, health, and more in both English and Spanish, aka Spanglish. Daily Flash Latino builds, connects, and celebrates the diverse Hispanic audience.
Pick up your chin, por favor, mi amor. Fabián, por favor. Lígale la cara.
I'm enjoying this just as much as our viewers are enjoying this right now.
Daily Flash Latino, trending news and entertainment with a splash of Spanglish.
Hey, welcome back to Daily Flash. It's time for us to look at the lifestyles of the rich and famous as we dive into some celebrity real estate.
Okay, let's start with Rick and Kathy Hilton, who have decided to sell their longtime Hamptons family home. The Hamptons, The Southampton estate has been a sanctuary for the Hilton family for many years, and now it can be yours for a mere $15 million. You'll get more than 10,000 square feet of living space featuring 6 bedrooms. The residence is situated on nearly 3 acres of land inside of a gated community. The home was built back in the 90s and also includes 3 wood-burning fireplaces, high ceilings, and the classic Hamptons architecture. Wow. The outdoor living space includes a swimming pool, an outdoor dining pavilion, and terraces for soaking up the summer sun.
In the Hamptons. That's gorgeous.
Isn't
by all
that
means. I love it.
beautiful?
All right, it has been a year-long saga for Jim Carrey, who's been trying to part ways with his California mansion. The Hollywood star has dropped the price a few times in an effort to unload the luxury property. Carrey first put in on the market for a jaw-dropping $29 million. It's now listed for $24 million. Carrey says his lifestyle and priorities have changed, which is why he wants to sell the home despite living in it for the last 3 decades. The estate was built back in 1951, sold to Carrey in 94 for $3.5 million. The 12,000 square foot home is surrounded by nearly 2 acres of land. The home also features an Art Deco theater, a lighted tennis court, waterfall pool, spa gardens, and a guest house, and lots of laughs, I'm sure, were there in that house.
Look at that screening room.
Isn't that crazy?
That's pretty cool. Well, the house featured in the Brady Bunch hit the market last June for a cool $5.5 million, and it just sold for $3.2 million. Oh. A 53-year-old fan named Tina Tran purchased the property. Now, it was originally built in 1959 in the Studio City neighborhood of Los Angeles. The 2-story home has just over 5,000 square feet of living space with a mid-century modern vibe. The interior of the home was rebuilt to replicate the set of the popular TV show. The buyer says she doesn't plan on living in the house. She just wants to use it for fundraising and charity events. The fan admits the house was a terrible investment because it's not really livable, but more like a work of art.
Because if you want to move into a 1960s, 70s home, you would buy a 1960s, 70s home without that big price tag.
Exactly.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that's too bad. We want to thank you for spending time with us in our home.
Yeah, head to our website, dailyflashshow.com, for anything you've seen on the show today. Be good, everybody.